Good afternoon. It was a mild, bright, and sunny day. It is Wednesday, the 17th of May, and I've got a box to continue unboxing. And what I've got in here is Love Will Tear Us Apart, which is the third book in the Stranger Times series by Caimh McDonnell, which begins with the Stranger Times series. Now, the Stranger Times series is set in Manchester. It's very much about the city, and it concerns a weekly newspaper, which reports on Fortean phenomena, but is actually tied up with a lot of other things that's going on in and around Manchester itself, concerning sort of like monsters. In the previous book, This Charming Man, it was vampires, but there's potentially fairies as well, and they're kind of not necessarily particularly sort of well explained or categorized, although they are categorized in sort of like into types. We don't quite know what types they are, but the setting itself is an urban fantasy series in and around Manchester, with some great sort of characters in the newspaper, the Stranger Times, and then and you get a real feel for the way it works. And then not all the characters are quite as well presented as they could be. The main character comes sort of like as a bit underwritten, I would suggest in terms of sort of like personality and so on. So, marriage is a trick at the best of times, especially when one of you is dead. But Vincent Bancroft, the irascible editor of the Stranger Times, has never believed his wife died, despite emphatic evidence to the contrary. Now, against all the odds, and it seems he may actually be proved right, and what lengths will he go to in his attempt to rescue her? With Bancroft distracted, the shocked resignation of assistant editor Hannah Willis couldn't come at a worse time. Her decision to reconcile with her philandering ex-husband is only marginally less surprising than Bancroft and his wife getting back together. But in this time of crisis, is her decision to swan off to a fancy New Age retreat run by a celebrity cult really the best thing for anyone, let alone herself? It's as if this wasn't enough. One of the paper's ex-columnists has disappeared, a particularly impressive trick, seeing as he never existed in the first place, adding floating statues, hijacked ghosts, homicide cherubs, irate starlings, a reliant Robin, and quite possibly several deeply sinister conspiracies into the mix. And all in all, it's a typical week for the staff of the Stranger Times. So a couple of things there. A reliant Robin. Okay, so I have a number of... If you're not British, you probably won't know what a reliant Robin is. At best, you may have seen it on the television comedy series Only Fools and Horses, because that's the car that the Trotters drive. But it's a three-wheeled vehicle, really driven by a motorcycle engine, and you can drive it on a motorcycle license, I believe. And they are... they have their devotees, but they're also sort of like a source of derision as well. Nobody makes them anymore. So yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's interesting here. Anna Willis has decided. The thing is, one of the reasons why she decided to join the Stranger Times as assistant editor was to get away from her philandering husband. And she's quite notorious at the beginning of the first book for sort of like having set fire to his house, having meant to just set fire to his clothing. So yeah, this is the third Stranger Times novel, and I enjoyed reading the first one. It was a nice change to read some fiction. It's an easy read, and I read it for book club, and we discussed it afterwards. A nice little interview with the author as well, who's actually getting into gaming, which is quite interesting to hear. Someone of a similar age to us actually getting into gaming for the first time and playing Dungeons and Dragons. So the kind of problem with this book is it's going to be kind of compared to Rivers of London, and I'm going to do that now. It's not as strong a voice, it's not as strong a setting. Manchester doesn't come through as much as the London and the Rivers of London does in the series by Ben Aronovich. But this is still a great setup and possibilities for doing a role-playing game. You know, you have an organisation that the players belong to. They have reasons to go out and investigate odd things. So you have, huge range of options you can go. So like, here's this case. So if you, I would suggest two things. Have a look at Tabloid, which is a role-playing game from TSR, part of the Amazing Engines line of supplements, which came out now, well, actually 30 years ago. Or Pandemonium from Atlas Games, both long out of print, but there's nothing like it at the moment. Although you could kind of twist it and take the Rivers of London game and adapt it if you wanted to. So you have potential here for source material for your urban fantasy role-playing games, as well as it's got an entertaining novel to read. So yeah, there are more books in the series, and I'm sure that once you start reading one of these, you'll enjoy them and pick the rest up as you go along. So yeah, that's Love Tear Us Apart by Caimh McDonnell. There he is on the inside back cover. Got an interesting CV. Former stand-up comedian and TV writer turned novelist. So yeah, Love Will Tear Us Apart by Caimh McDonnell. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you did, then please click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a parcel containing a book or game, typically a game or role-playing game, which I will unbox and chat out to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do hit the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.